there. So yeah, nothing really too detrimental. There will be interesting to see what prizes here Ondrej has, yeah.
Before we do, let's have a look at his player profile. So we got no slouch himself. We can see he's a former Czech Nationals finalist. He got several top 8s at the Harrogate Regionals 2018, at the Torino Special Event, and at the Liverpool Regionals as well.
Yeah, and he's playing this, as you can see here, he was seed number 2 going into the top 8. So as you can see here, he is playing the Zapdos variant. So 2 very experienced players here, battling it out to try and get in to that final tomorrow. So we will see how this goes. There are his prizes: 1 Blitzel, 1 Jirachi, Cynthia.
And again, nothing
really,
too bad.
Nothing really too that is going to disrupt him for setting up. So we should have a pretty clean game here in terms of trying to play out the full match here. So,
and there's the handshake. We are off everyone. This is game 1 of top 4, the first top 4 match. And it looks like Ondrej will be going first. Starting off with that Jirachi, just goes straight for the ability.
I think the camera opened up with that Jirachi on sleep, actually, maybe. So, but yeah, is going for. There is Lily. So he's choosing to go for Lily. That is a
strong find.
Your ideal starter, you would have to say, in this matchup. But how much can he decrease his hand size here? There is 1 Nest Ball, so that's why he's opted not to shuffle his deck, because he knew that he was going to go back into the deck. This is his opportunity to find out what is prized, what are the contents of his deck, which is what he's choosing to do here. So
yeah, he's going to look through, and he's going to end up pretty happy as he realizes, yeah, actually pretty much most of my vital pieces are, in the deck. I don't have to worry too much about changing my game plan drastically. He's just going to, keep on keeping on and just do the same game plan that he's managed to do to get himself all the way here to top 4.
Right, and one big deal actually is Gustavo is playing 3 Zapdos himself. So I mean, this could be a bit of a Zapdos war to begin with. So if that is the case, if that is the route that both players decide to go down, that means that these Electro Powers are going to be very important in this matchup. So there is Buzzwole going down there, which has a Sledgehammer attack. So that is just going to cause added pressure on Gustavo. He's going to be worried about the amount of prizes that he is taking and conceding, just to avoid that Buzzwole responding and being able to knock out his big tag team GX Pokemon.
Yeah, this is the key here. Assuming, the game progresses as you think it usually would, leading with Zapdos Gustavo, and then, having to, once he runs out of Zapdos finishing off with that Pikachu Zekrom, that Buzzwole that on the bench just makes it a lot more threatening for Gustavo to have to deal with, and that's one of the reasons why the sort of, Zapdos-focused version of this sort of lightning-type deck, where you just play Jirachi and Zapdos and you play zero Pikachu and Zekrom GX, is adapted to include this Buzzwole now and these other Ultra Beats, because it gives you that extra little push over the edge that you need to fight the pure power of Pikachu Zekrom.
Right, and I was just thinking to myself, why is he only playing 3 Zapdos as opposed to playing 4? He plays 2 Rescue Stretcher. So even if that Buzzwole does go down, if Gustavo thinks to try and target that Buzzwole and to knock that Buzzwole out, he plays 2 Rescue Stretchers. So he has 2 outs to trying to recover that Buzzwole. So that Buzzwole is not going to go anywhere anytime soon. So it's a huge threat from Gustavo's side.
Yeah, I really like the way he's done this as well. It's very clever. But by playing the, opting for a higher Rescue Stretcher count instead of a higher Zapdos count, he increases his chances of starting with Jirachi. He's playing the full complement of 4 Jirachi, and the more games you start with Jirachi, the happier you're going to be, because you just get, you just get your Stellar Wish off more often turn 1. You're more resilient against Marshadow if you go second. It's just the best starter you have, hands down. As
you can see here, because he's played 2 Stellar Wish already in this opening turn here. He's gone for that Electro Power. I believe he drew Lily from the first Stellar Wish, decided to retreat that Jirachi, and now is going for that Stellar Wish again to get that Electro Power. He played an Escape Rope before that, which obviously has no effect on Gustavo, because I've just seen that dice roll just off camera, but that Jirachi does wake up, so that it indicates it was ahead. But yeah, it has no effect on Gustavo because he has no bench Pokemon. So let's see how Gustavo opens up here. What is his approach here? What does he go down the Zapdos route, or does he decide to go straight for the Pikachu Zekrom?
I think going for the Pikachu Zekrom this early could be a little bit risky. He knows that he's going to have a really hard time avoiding getting to a spot where he's on 4 prizes remaining. And once he gets to that, of course, that Buzzwole can come in with the Sledgehammer attack for 1 fighting energy and take a 1-hit knockout on a Pikachu and Zekrom GX. So he's got to be very mindful of that, and he might decide to just go for the Zapdos route first, and maybe if he needs to later on finish off the game with Pikachu Zekrom. And indeed, he just goes for the Guzma, brings up the other Jirachi just so he can get that switch in, and goes for his own Stellar Wish.
Right, exactly. And yeah, exactly as I was thinking, yeah, if he does decide to go for that Pikachu Zekrom GX, if he decides to go down that route, the issue that he has of that is just fearing that Buzzwole. And that's, I mean, that Buzzwole is such a huge presence in this format. It's not just the fact that it can attack with Sledgehammer, it's just knowing that it's there. You know, that in itself is something that he has to play around hugely in this matchup. But there goes a Skateboard on the Jirachi. Is able to retreat that and then use Zapdos's Thunderous Assault, which does get the knockout on the opposing Jirachi. So Gustavo has taken one prize and is leading this, but this can change very, very quickly.
Yeah, first prize of the game goes to Gustavo. Can't argue too much with that. It really is a nice, strong start. Not only taking the first prize, but denying an extra Stellar Wish from Ondrej's side as well. So now it's up to Ondrej to respond in the best way he thinks is possible. He does find a couple of decent things off of that Stellar Wish. He finds himself a Nest Ball and a couple of other things which I can't quite see right now, but he does go for the Nest Ball. Wants to find himself another basic Pokemon. Maybe even could consider getting that Blitzel out just to improve his draw engine.
Right, and that's a key fact there is if he does get Blitzel out and is able to set up Substriker, he will be able to use Sprint, which is an enabled draw engine in itself, on top of the fact that he is using Stellar Wish. You can see he does have the Electro Power in hand because he was able to draw that the last turn when he used Stellar Wish. So with that switch, I believe Gustavo knocked out that Jirachi with the Escape Board last turn, so he has to find another Escape Board or use a switching card, which he does have in his hand. That will enable him to bring up that Zapdos, and he's able to use that Electro Power that he found on his last turn through Stellar Wish to take the knockout on this opposing Zapdos active.
Going for that Nest Ball, which you got off the Stellar Wish now, does indeed put that Blitzel down on the bench. And like you mentioned earlier, Jamie, it's very important that the Electro Powers sort of come in for both of these players, because the Zapdos, when it comes into the active doing the extra damage, it only does do 80. You need that Electro Power to do the extra 30 damage required to knock out the 110 HP Zapdos. So very important that Ondrej found that last turn, and I imagine we'll see him just play down that Electro Power, and Thunderous Assault will take the knockout.
Right, and that will, as I said, take the knockout. And it's just, I think Ondrej is playing this very, very well indeed. And the fact that he's just being very conservative, and knowing that as long as that Buzzwole is sitting on the bench, that he will be able to just have the Sledgehammer KO should that Pikachu Zekrom GX come in the active spot, subject to price counts, of course. But at this moment, I feel that if you look, for example, Gustavo's list, is he playing a Rescue Stretcher? I believe he.
So the card in Portuguese. So let me look at that one for you.
That might be pretty helpful if you can do that.
I believe it should be Makaji Hizgachi in Portuguese. I don't think I see one. No, I don't think I see one.
Okay, so if he doesn't play a Rescue Stretcher, that would mean that once those Zapdos go down, he will have to find an alternative attacker here, whereas Ondrej, on the other hand, has 2 Rescue Stretcher in his deck. But Gustavo is going for a Let Loose here. He's putting Marshadow down and enabling him to draw an additional 4 more cards once he's shuffled his hand back into the deck. This also applies to Gustavo as well. So
Yeah, I've just had to scan through, and unless I can't see for whatever reason, no, there is no Rescue Stretcher in Gustavo's list.
Right, and that could be a big deal because I think this is Gustavo's second Zapdos that he has. He has one more after this. He is playing a heavy line of Zapdos. What he's not playing a line of is any kind of recovery that I can see from his deck that would enable him to get more Zapdos back into play. So that means that once that goes down, he will have to start thinking about alternative attackers.
Yeah, he will, and so. Now, Ondrej, having one last look through, managed to get himself off the Marshadow, went for that Let Loose since obviously he has the KO guaranteed, so he wants to just try and disrupt Gustavo as much as he can. And gets a Lily off of that too, even better for him, so he can refill his hand after that Let Loose. And now the Thunderous Assault can just come in and take the knockout here, and he will be tied, 5 prizes remaining apiece.
Yeah, and as you can see here, Ondrej does have the Electro Power in hand. I believe, yes, is his first card in his hand. So, actually, he's played Electro Power this turn, but he does have a following Electro Power for the next turn, should there be no form of a hand manipulation. So we'll see, and then he can follow up that with a Zapdos here. He's opted to put the energy onto that Marshadow. If that Marshadow does become active, he can just manually retreat it the next turn. So that's a smart play on his side. He'll be able to put that active, retreat that into Zapdos. Zapdos will gain the full effect of that Thunderous Assault. So thinking ahead of the game here, and that's what these experienced players do at these high-level tournaments. They kind of think, at least a good 2 or 3 turns ahead of their current turn.
Yeah, so meanwhile, from Gustavo's side, we just see what looks to be a Lily Doesn't play anything off of it yet, but does just go for the Stellar Wish as a follow-up. There's the Electro Power, another vital find. So Gustavo keeping pace here. As I was mentioned before, it's important to find one of those Electro Powers every turn just to make sure that you're trading knockout for knockout. If this carries on like this, Gustavo currently is in like the prize tempo lead. He did take the first knockout of the game, so this is exactly what Gustavo wants to see.
Right, and this is, as you can see, is a bit of a back and forth here between, can you find Electro Power on a Zapdos? Yes, I can. Can you find Electro Power on a Zapdos? But eventually one of these players are going to run out, and as you can see, each player only plays it plays the maximum copy of 4 Electro Powers. There are only 4 Electro Powers to play, so it just means that you have to keep digging for Electro Powers if you want to keep applying the pressure here. But as you can see, Gustavo is being very, very conservative here. He's choosing just to go down the route of his Zapdos. But my fear for Gustavo here is, obviously he knows the deck much better than I do as to how he's opting to choose to play this matchup. But at what point does he start to think that he wants to get another attacker into play? Like after these Zapdos choose, or after they get knocked out, at what point does he decide that he needs to power up something else?
I think he'll be happy with that as soon as he takes another. If he next turn he can take another knockout with Zapdos, then he'll be comfortable benching the Pikachu Zekrom, because then he doesn't have to worry about the Sledgehammer turn anymore. This currently would be the Sledgehammer turn, but there's nothing really that great for Ondrej to knock out with Sledgehammer. So Gustavo's played it very cleverly. He's taken 2 prizes now, and as long as he can take another knockout next turn, then he can feel relatively safe, or at least more safe, in benching the Pikachu Zekrom and having that as a follow-up attacker.
Yeah, just have to keep in mind, just those rescue stretches will get back that Buzzwole, but you really have to just push past that and try and make sure that it's irrelevant, that he doesn't get the additional damage. And that's a thing that I kind of guess with these decks is you have to really play around how many prize cards you take and concede with this Buzzwole being here. There is a Guzma. Guzma goes active. Buzzwole hits the active spot too, so he will be going for the knockout.
Yep,
yeah, and that is a knockout on Jirachi.
Of course, this is the Sledgehammer. This is what they call a Sledgehammer turn. So, of course, 4 prizes left to Gustavo means that Ondrej is doing 120 damage to that poor little Jirachi with the attack there.
Right, so once Gustavo does take another prize, that's where the Sledgehammer becomes a little bit irrelevant. That's perhaps what Gustavo is waiting for here, to try and to take another prize before thinking to bench that Pikachu Zekrom GX. That's going to be his alternative attacker post this. Just trying to work out here. He's obviously going to go back into Zapdos here, try and use some Electro Powers to go for the knockout here. That Buzzwole has 130 HP, has 1 damage counter on it, that's 120. He will need 2 Electro Powers to get the knockout if he chooses to go down that route.
Yeah, he would. He is currently just over 40 damage short with the sort of base damage of Thunderous Assault, but it looks like actually Gustavo's opting to go for his 1 copy of the Marshadow with that Let Loose ability. Maybe you think either because he needs to draw more cards, or he thinks he wants to try and cut down Ondrej's hand size a little bit, but that is what he's going for. And looks like there's a Tapu Koko GX in his hand as well, but not really going to be able to get much value out of it right now, considering, he's only got 1 energy on the field. Yeah,
there's a Guzma there. He goes for the active Jirachi, and then puts his Zapdos into the active spot, which gets the added effect of that Thunderous Assault, which is why you can see Guzma is so crucial to this deck, and he will obviously get the knockout. But just before he does that, he's going for Let Loose there with Marshadow.
Yeah.
So he's trying to disrupt his opponent as much as possible, as well as as you can see, looking across to Ondrej's side, he has no. He actually has that Substriker in place, so he does have Sprint if he wants to go down that route. He has no more Jirachi after this, so he can't dig for any sort of resources there.
But more importantly, it's just the fact that Gustavo was able to find the KO here. He's doing exactly what he needs to do to sort of, stay at a good pace in this game. He's able to take the knockout on the Jirachi. The Sledgehammer turn is now over. There will be no 120 damage Sledgehammers coming in from Ondrej's side. Gustavo has now, escaped that danger zone, and now he can feel a lot more safe later on and benching that Pikachu Zekrom to eventually close out the game.
Yeah, so very, played very intelligently, should we say, on Gustavo's side, trying to get around that Sledgehammer. I think that was the big deal here, is trying to make sure you play very conservative. You can see, I think in his hand, does he have 2 Pikachu Zekrom GX in his hand? I saw 1 there. I'm not sure if I saw a second one.
Definitely has at least 1, but I'm not sure about the second.
Right.
That looks to be a Tapu Lele GX in his hand, actually.
Could be. Some kind of something in his hand that looked like a GX of some sort. But yeah, as you can see, holding back these big GX Pokemon that he has in his deck, these things like Zeraora, things like like his Pikachu Zekrom GX, just on the fear that that Sledgehammer was going to come out and take big prizes, which is something that really he can't afford at this point in the game.
No, he really can't. And Ondrej is actually having a little bit of a hard time deciding what he wants to do here. He's yet to make a single move. Just brought that Marshadow into the active after the Jirachi knockout, and he drew a Beast Energy for the turn. It could be interesting if he decides to attach that. That means the Sledgehammer will be doing 60 damage, minus... Oh, he just goes to the sprint!
Oh, wow.
He's got 3 Guzmas!
Wow. What is he searching for here that he needs to discard 3 Guzmas? Wow.
He's got a Jirachi.
There's a Jirachi, which is going to feed him some more things, but wow. That is a big discard there.
Yeah, and for not much payoff either. I mean, he's drawn what looks to be... Well, he drew a Jirachi, obviously, but it looks like he's drawn... Well, Electropower and a couple of... Is it 2 Electropower and something? Yeah, 2 Electropower right there, and a third card which I can't quite see right now. So he just has to go for the Stellar Wish. He does find a Lily, so...
He does have a draw exporter for the turn, but, I mean, at this point, what does he need? He needs a Zapdos, Electropower, some kind of switch. I mean, it sounds like he's just asking for too much at this moment in time to try and really get a knockout here on Gustavo Zapdos here. He does have the Electropower in hand, so he needs, 3 cards? He needs Energy, Zapdos, and a switching card here. I don't believe he has all of that, so he could try and burn off... there goes Shrine of Punishment, which isn't really going to do much.
That was the other card then, and yeah, Electropower, there goes the Lily.
Yeah, and does not hit that those cards that he needs. He has just the 1 Electropower. I can't really see. There's a Cynthia on top, but I can't really see what is underneath all that here. I believe there's a Rescue Stretcher.
Yes, there is. There's an Ultra Ball too, but no means of switching the Jirachi out the active as far as I can see.
Right, he's already paid the retreat cost this turn for Marshadow, so even if he attaches the Escape Board onto that Jirachi, he will not be able to retreat it. So it just sounds like he's asking for too much at this moment in time. But yeah, I mean... Discarding that Guzma, I mean, that was in itself is a way of switching. I mean, he didn't have the Zapdos on bench at the moment, but yeah, not looking too good at this moment for Ondrej. We're just waiting to see if he can kind of capitalize here, or if Gustavo can capitalize on this. I mean, Gustavo still has, his Zapdos active, and he can take a knockout on this Jirachi here, which would leave him with only 2 prize cards remaining.
Yeah, and I mean, this is bad news for Ondrej as is, because he was already behind in the tempo taking prizes, and now he's missed the KO as well. So now Gustavo, if he can find a KO, will be even further ahead, and that is not a position you want to be in if you're on Ondrej's side of the table.
Right, I mean, these decks with Zapdos, these Lightning decks do rely on taking KOs, or at least keeping up with the prize exchange. As you can see here, it's been a kind of clash of back and forth. It's been one player takes a prize, another player takes a prize. Ondrej has missed a prize here, which means that Gustavo can go here 2 prizes to Ondrej's 4, which is a big deal. And there goes Tapu Koko.
Oh, hello.
GX. He's putting out Tapu Koko GX. There goes 3 energy there. And there is a Pikachu Zekrom GX, which he's hovering. So he has put down. He feels that it's safe now that there is no Sledgehammer, that he can put down that Pikachu Zekrom GX, and he will be able to take a knockout here on that opposing Jirachi, which means that he'll only be 2 prizes short of winning this game.
Yeah, you just go for that sky-high claws here, 130 damage, that will be enough for the knockout. Don't even need to use that GX attack. Of course, that Shrine of Punishment being down means that he will take 10 damage from it between turns, same on that Pikachu Zekrom, but, I mean, he's so far out at this point, I'm honestly not even sure if it matters that much.
Yeah, I mean... yeah, I'm not too sure what can be done here. I mean, he does have that Nihilego on the bench there as well.
That's a good point, Gustavo. It is currently on 2 prizes remaining, so maybe that's something that he can get some use out of course. That I think we're able to copy attacks, and in the right situation can be absolutely devastating. But if you can choose any one of your opponent's attacks and copy and use it as his attack, only if your opponent has exactly 2 prize cards remaining.
Right.
But, well, I mean, first of all, he needs to find a Rainbow Energy, and second of all, I mean, what would he even copy at this point?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, he could try and... I mean, well, he's got an Ultra Ball in his hand. He can try and get something with that. There is a Tapu Koko there too, so he can try and use Dance of the Ages to get some energy on the board. The issue is, what does he go with post that? I think he's really struggling to think of some innovative way to try and get out of this situation. There is Tapu Koko, and he's really using up his bench space here too. So there goes energy, skateboard.
I bet you wish you had that last turn.
Yeah, right. So yeah, so imagine he'll go for the Ultra Ball here, but he's probably just wondering, what will that Ultra Ball enable him to get at this moment? I'm not too sure if there's anything really... I mean, his deck isn't really... His deck doesn't really use things like high damage attackers, should we say. in this case. So he's not like, he doesn't have any Pikachu Zekrom GX in there, and it's something like that that is going to deal significant amounts of damage here. So his deck is more utilizing the fact that you can just do a bit of damage and then just follow up again the following turn with something like a Guzma, or then getting something up, or something like I've forgotten the name. What was the name? The
GX?
No, Electro Power. How did I forget Electro Power? I've said it so much over the course of this weekend, and I just forgot the name. So yeah, just utilizing the fact that you two-shot a lot of things, unless you take cheap knockouts on things like Jirachi and Marshadow there. But he's dealing with this Tapu Koko in the active here. I mean, it's not really ideal. He has no like revenge KO. He can't sort of knock out that Tapu Koko GX in one hit, which is kind of where his deck is really struggling.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to sort of work out, because I mean, he does, in theory, he could actually get a one-hit knockout if he were to use the Tapu Koko, attach the two things, and then find the Tapu Koko GX, and use the Aero Trail ability to move it into the active, and with the Choice Band, use Tapu Thunder GX. That would actually work, because there is free energy currently on Gustavo's side of the field, but that would be pretty much the only thing. But he does find the Rainbow Energy, so he could
use Sky High Claws here.
Yeah, he can use the Nihilika's attack, the Nightcap, to copy Sky High Claws. He could copy Full Blitz. There's a lot he could copy actually.
Right. So let's see what he chooses to go with here, and of course he is going to use Dance of the Ancients as well. That goes to the Lost Zone. He will get 2 energy from his discard pile and attach them to his Pokemon.
Yeah, one on Zapdos and one onto the Marshadow, it looks like. But yeah, I'm very interested to see what he actually copies with this Nihiligo. Because if he had a choice band, he'd copy either Full Blitz or Tapu Thunder GX. Probably Full Blitz, then he isn't using a GX attack. And then that would be enough to actually get the KO on the Tapu Koko. Yeah. Oh no, of course it doesn't matter because of the Shrine of Punishment.
Wow, okay,
So
right.
Yeah, so he completely missed that. So
totally forgot.
Yeah, with the extra 10 damage from that, Full Blitz he can copy and do 150. The extra Shrine of Punishment damage gets the knockout.
Yeah, I completely missed that. So yeah, Shrine of Punishment is in place, so that puts the additional damage counter on there, so that does get the knockout on Tapu Koko. And that's why these players are here, because they can see all these sort of really intricate ways of trying to get knockouts like that, trying to really analyze situations and, take knockouts like that where perhaps we don't see it as visible there. Yeah. So yeah, really good, smart play there from Ondrej. And he's done that again with a one prize attacker.
Yeah.
So he's managed to level up the score here.
That's the power of Nihiligo. It's why you play it, obviously. The ability to copy some of these really powerful attacks for only 1 energy is inherently very powerful.
Right. And because he's tied up the match here, that means that obviously he will not be losing the game next turn because he has no GX Pokemon on the bench. I mean, I can't see a way that Gustavo can use Tagbolt GX for this turn and try and get 2 knockouts that way. That seems really out of reach at the moment. Yeah. So at least for this turn, he knows that he might have a knockout potentially, depending if he has enough Electro Powers, but he will have another turn after this.
The really important thing for Gustavo is to take a knockout on something this turn, either the Nihiligo or one of the things on the bench, because if he doesn't, then the Nihiligo can use Nightcap again and copy another attack, and then at that point he could copy something like the Tagbolt GX on the Pikachu Zekrom on the bench and do a massive amount of damage.
Right, yeah. So at this point, it's about keeping up with the prize exchange. So Ondrej, as you saw before, missed taking a prize for that turn that he a little bit earlier, which Gustavo managed to capitalize on. He's able to pull it back here, or has been able to pull it back, which meant that he was able to knock out a GX Pokemon, taking 2 prizes. So he's currently level on prizes at the moment, which is a really significant play at the moment. There is Electro Power with Zapdos.
Very important.
Yep.
So that means that now not only has he managed to take a prize here and sort of prevent that Nihiligo from doing anything, but he gives another further prize ahead, and he just takes Nihiligo off the board entirely.
Right, choosing to bench Wobbuffet there. Are there any Prism Pokemon that is worth having at this moment? Is there something that I've missed here? I mean,
I think he might be just benching it just to get it out of his hand. He wants to make sure in case there's a surprise second Marshadow from Ondrej or something like that. Not that he actually plays one, but it's just something just to make sure that he has that option to deal with, or rather that he doesn't have to just draw it later.
Sure. So here goes with the Zebdrake here to put it in the active. So there is the option of using Sprint if you would like to use that to, what is it? What is that top card that is that Shrine of Punishments?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
So he's going to use the Viridian Forest first before going for that Shrine of Punishment. Does he have lightning in his deck? No, he doesn't. Just rainbows, it looks like.
Right, just the rainbow energy in deck, which he can't get out through Viridian Forest. It does have to be a basic Pokemon. There goes a basic energy, sorry. There goes Shrine of Punishments, which means Viridian Forest has to hit the discard pile. And then, I mean, he had such a good turn last turn, but my issue is how does he follow up this turn? I mean, he can take...
Oh, I can hear him.
Oh, looks like there might be an issue with the players hearing each other with the headsets.
Okay. So, yeah, it looks like there's some technical difficulties going down on the desk. So,
okay, looks like they managed to resolve it now. But yeah, Ondrej plays an Electro Power.
but
And it just reveals the hand.
Right.
So yeah, actually, Gustavo will be able to take game 1, and we'll be moving on to game 2.
Yeah, I was just about to say that you know, he can take a knockout with that Zapdos. He had Electric Power, and he could bring that Zapdos to the active spot. Take the knockout on that Zapdos, but then Gustavo, as long as he has the energy in hand, he can just use Full Blitz and take the knockout back, and that would give him the victory, which it has done so there. So congratulations to Gustavo for winning that round. We still have some more time and more time for Ondrej to claw this one back.
Yeah, absolutely. So game 1 goes to Gustavo there, and it's so there that we kind of see, even though obviously Ondrej has prepared this Jirachi Zapdos variant with these extra Ultra Beast attackers just to try and have a little bit of extra push over the cliff to deal with these really huge Pikachu and Zekrom tag team GXs, it's still not quite enough to finish the job.
Yeah, and evidently so. It's really weird because once you saw in that matchup actually that Gustavo was trying to play very, very conservatively, trying to work. I mean, Ondrej made it no secret that he has Buzzwole. I mean, once you see Nihilego in the deck, you know that Buzzwole is going to be in there too. I'm sure these players have done research on each other. I'm sure they probably know what the contents of their decks included. But yeah, Ondrej made no secret of the fact that there was a Buzzwole in there. He put that Buzzwole down very early, trying to threat trying to cause a threat there of that Sledgehammer attack. So Gustavo decided to play a bit more conservatively and try to go down the route of that Zapdos until that Sledgehammer was null and void.
Yeah, and it looks like we've got someone there just working to help sort out the technical issues, just to make sure everyone can hear each other, make things a little bit easier for everyone involved whilst these players shuffle up and get ready for game 2. And well, I mean, really, if you're Ondrej, you just got to really hope that you're going first here, so you have a chance to get perhaps a slightly quicker setup. Some players who play Zapdos actually opt to go second, even though usually going first is a huge advantage, but because going second, you're still so likely to be able to get off a turn 1 attack with the Zapdos. Sometimes actually getting the first knockout and getting the first damage is worth more, and it's one of the few times you actually pick to go second in Pokemon.
Yeah, it's a case of... I mean, I can certainly see reasons in the mirror match why you might opt to go second. If you are playing against a more Zapdos versus Zapdos deck, if you're playing more against a Pikarom deck, I don't know what the optimal play is there. If you think it's better to go first,
I mean, you have to consider that the version of Pikachu Zekrom that Gustavo is playing, he's playing a very fixed Zapdos count. He's playing 3, so it's clearly something that he likes to lead with, and something that, especially considering he's playing against another Zapdos deck, is a strategy he will lead with if he can. So bearing that in mind, there's something that must be at least going through Ondrej's mind as a consideration.
Absolutely, and we can see that, over the course of this weekend, we've seen decks that are very more focused on Pikachu Zekrom and are more focused on getting that set up more quickly, using things like Energy Switch, using things like Tapu Koko, Thunder Mountain. But we've also seen a lot of variants that just try, like Gustavo has here, he's opted for 3 Zapdos here. He feels that is the optimal play here. He has access to trying to get that Pikachu Zekrom set up more quickly, but over the course of the matches that I've seen him feature in, he's opted to go with more Zapdos kind of line. He's opted to go down that route of using Thunderous Assault to take a few knockouts to try and soften a few things up, and then go for that Pikachu Zekrom to finish up there. So that's kind of the strategy that I've seen Gustavo use a lot over the course of this weekend. Obviously, I don't know if that has applied to the other matches he's played off camera. I haven't been able to witness that, but
to be fair, he has been on stream a fair bit over the course of this weekend. It's probably a good enough sample size to discern his general strategy playing this deck.
Right. Yeah, I think actually I'm trying to remember who was. So I mean, I caught him on stream yesterday. I think. Perhaps you caught it, because I remember you did the interview with him in Portuguese, actually, I remember. So, so you would have been back, so maybe it was Carl and Joe that featured Gustavo today. So, but yeah, I was watching a little bit backstage to see, his pairings and how he's playing that match, and I think, he tends to try and go more Zapdos base to begin with, and then obviously if there is a necessity to have that Pikachu Zekrom GX, if he feels a need to kind of push for that, then he will do so. But yeah, he's choosing to go more Zapdos. He's not playing kind of more, I guess, the Thunder Buddies list. He's not playing Jolteon, and here he's just choosing to go down the route of playing Wobbuffet. He does play the one Tapu Koko GX as well, as I guess it's quite useful just to have against opposing Pikachu Zekrom players. We see a lot of players committing a lot of energy to their Pikachu Zekroms, and that's where Tapu Koko GX comes in. So
yeah, it's very important to sort of have access to that, I think, because it's a very quick way of responding to a Pikachu Zekrom GX threat from an opposing side without having to dig for Electro Powers to KO one with a Pikachu and Zekrom of your own. So it's very easy, very quick to just go straight in with the Aero Trail and do all that. And there's some kind of amusing conversation going on over at the table between our players and the judges.
Yeah, we do have a lot of time still on the clock to try and find a winner in this match. Ondrej will be feeling that even though he lost the first match, he still has more time to get back into this game and trying to find a try to get back into this tie into 1-1 and to eventually push on to find a winner. But it'd be really interesting to see if this match came down to sudden death and it was a fresh game, who would be the victor in that. Just a case of knockout versus knockout until one player was unable to take a prize.
Yeah, so for full clarity, in case you're just joining us, we are currently waiting on the start of Game 2. There might be some audio issues going on with the headsets right now, and I think they're just waiting for a fix on those before they carry on with Game 2. The judges just coordinating just to make sure that get fixed before, so make sure that everything's all okay before we proceed on to the next game. Of course, the players need to be able to hear each other and need to be able to hear any judges' instructions, so important to get that fixed before we carry on with anything.
Yeah, absolutely. But that will be up and running very shortly, and then we'll get this game underway here. It'll be interesting to know what is going on in the other feature match, but we don't have access to that at the moment, I assume.
Well, that's because we're streaming it next. It's not going on right now.
Oh, my apologies. Right, sorry. So that would be why then. So yeah, that will be the feature match after this. And then, yeah, so... yeah, at this moment we're just waiting to set up then. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know, in terms of Ondrej's side, what does he do differently in this match? Does he kind of hold Buzzwole back, or does he kind of just leave it there as a threat and then Gustavo play around it again? Or is this match just in Gustavo's favor, do you think?
Well, it is tricky because... you could say that on paper it's in Ondrej's favor because he has answers to this Pikachu Zekrom, but the way Gustavo has built his deck and the fact that he has this fixed Zapdos line to lead with means that in theory, if he plays perfectly every single time, he can just go pure Zapdos before he eventually switches into his Pikachu Zekrom, and can after that Sledgehammer turn is no longer a threat. But what if you start with Pikachu Zekrom, for example? Then all of a sudden that goes out the window. So then all Ondrej needs to do is go for that's Buzzwole and not bench his one Tapu Koko GX to make it possible to skip that turn, because eventually Gustavo had to take 2 knockouts, and then all of a sudden that Sledgehammer becomes a big threat again. So all of it can come down to who starts with what, who goes first, and how the lead few turns that each player has end up panning out. Absolutely,
yeah. And as you can see, I mean, he has 2, let's have a look. So yeah, he has 2 Pikachu Zekrom GX in there. I mean, he has 3 Jirachi and 3 Zapdos in there. So the probability is that he won't start with that Pikachu Zekrom, but I mean, there is every chance that he obviously could as well. So we actually just got confirmation here that there are audio issues down at the bottom. They are having trouble hearing each other over the process of the game. Well, Nick, I'm sure you are more familiar with this than I am playing on these tables. You've featured yourself quite a few times on these feature matches. I actually recall watching one time the stream and you at the World Championships and you featured on there. It's when you have these earphones on, they're really like sound cancelling, I think.
Yeah, it's really good because obviously, these players are here on the main stage. They're kind of close, especially on this stage we have right here for this weekend. It's a really huge stage. We're so up here. We've got a great view of the whole floor. It's really cool here. But the players, obviously, we don't want them to hear what we're saying because obviously that can give stuff away in the game. So yeah, the way there's noise cancelling headphones to make sure they can't hear the audience reactions as well, and to make sure that doesn't, disrupt the integrity of the game, as it were. And yeah, like you said, I have worn those headsets before. They play. It's pink noise essentially that they play, so it's very sort of loud, it almost sounds like a sort of staticky waterfall. I think it's the best way I can describe it. And I remember when you take your headsets off, especially, you kind of have to sort of rub your ears a little bit just because it's quite loud, but it definitely does get the job done. And it can be hard if it's not configured correctly to actually hear each other over that. So they want to make sure that the audio line between all the different players is clear and that they can hear each other over that pink noise.
Right, and as you know, when you are in a tournament of this scale, when you have come so far into the tournament here to the top 4, it's really important that you hear every single move and every single action your opponent declares, just in case there is something that perhaps you disagree with or something that is played incorrectly. So it's really important there that the players are able to communicate with each other. On the basis that, or on the probability that that doesn't happen, we do have 2 judges there on the side there. They are watching the game as well, so they will try and pick up on anything that was missed over the course of the game, any misplays that happened. When you get into a tournament, and when you start to play a tournament and you get into a tournament of this magnitude, sometimes these kind of errors happen. We saw earlier actually cards being played and then irreversible situations happening. You just kind of get so consumed into the match. But we are kicking things off here. There is the prize cam. We see 1 Marshadow in there. That is a Guzma. 2 Ultra Ball, a Nest Ball, and a Lightning Energy. So nothing too detrimental.
That is the only Marshadow he plays, to be fair. So actually, if he wants to do like a Tomato Disruption, he might be a little bit stuck. And there's
the Buzzwole. Wow.
That is a big deal. So the 1 Buzzwole there being prized for Ondrej. Once he looks through his deck and sees that, he's not going to be happy.
Right, so that immediately takes away the threat of Gustavo. Gustavo won't know that at the moment, so he doesn't have information to what is in Ondrej's prizes at this moment in time. So he will assume that Buzzwole is there, and he's going to play very conservatively as he did the last round, just leading with that Zapdos as opposed to trying to go down the route of using Pikachu Zekrom. GX. But
I'll tell you what, though, Ondrej's had a really strong start here. He got a Zapdos down, attached a Lightning Energy, played a Cynthia, and now he's seen both a Nest Ball and a Marshadow off of this. So he's going to be able to do a Marshadow, let loose, shuffle Gustavo's hand in, and he's going to be able to use Stellar Wish if he has a means of retreating this Blitzle. So it's a pretty strong start from Ondrej.
Right, and because of the technical issues we've had, there has been an added amount of time on to this match. There'll be some additional time if the players haven't yet completed the series by then. So, but until then, we are playing, and we'll try and hopefully find a winner here. So there goes Shrine of Punishment. There goes for the one Marshadow that he has. He's going...
Or the Let Loose.
Yeah, he's going for the Let Loose.
Yeah. We've had confirmation of the amount of time extension that we have, by the way. It's at 8 minutes. So that's, imagine sort of 8 minutes being added to sort of that clock on the table extension. Unless, wait, have they already added it onto... Okay, so it's already been added onto there. So that is what you're seeing right now is the correct time for the match.
So we have, that would make sense because we were down to about 43 minutes before. So yeah, that would make a bit more sense. So yeah, so we have the total amount of time there for both players to find a winner in this series. So I'm sure with that Nest Ball search that Ondrej has just had there, that he would have seen that his Buzzwole is prized. I mean, he's just had access to looking at the contents of his deck. So yeah, that Buzzwole being prized is a big deal. I think it was in the top right, actually, in terms of his prize. I believe it was in the top right or left, which means that if he takes prizes from the bottom, which is normally what players tend to do, it means that he won't have access to that Buzzwole for a very long time. And even when he gets access to it, he might not even be able to use Sledgehammer by that point.
It's a very interesting. Gustavo sort of leads off. The first card he fired off from drawing from that Marshadow is an Escape Rope. Ondrej a little bit undecided as to what he wants to bring up. Does just go for the Marshadow. Gustavo switches around the Zapdos and the Tapu Koko, and he's got the Lightning Energy straight away and the Lily. So actually, he drew really well off that Marshadow. Yeah,
strong start there from Gustavo. I mean, Ondrej at this point is considering what does he want to concede in terms of his the bench Pokemon he had. He doesn't want to put Jirachi up because obviously Jirachi will have the added effect of Stellar Wish the next turn, so that's why he'll put Jirachi up now. So Marshadow isn't really doing something at the moment. It's kind of just dead weight on the bench, so he's just figured to put Marshadow up active first, take the knockout on that and promote Jirachi, which means that he can find an escape board and go back into a Zapdos and try and take the knockout if he has access to an Electro Power. But there is one Rainbow Energy, that's one damage counter that goes on that Zapdos. Lily for 6 cards here, or up to 6 cards. Does he get the Electro Power? He does have Sprint, actually, if he wants to go down that route of trying to find something. Yeah, but he does have the Electro Power in hand. Okay, so
he's drawing the Electro Power. Yeah, that's quite important. But now he needs a way to get this Jirachi out the active.
I believe he has Switch in his hand as well, so he can
use it all. Yeah,
so he's got the knockout this turn. He's got Switch and Electro Power, which will give him the knockout on this opposing Zapdos here, so and he'll be able to take a prize, keeping up here with the prize exchange, which will tie it at 5-5.
Yeah, he's just determining, since he already has all he needs for the knockout, he's trying to figure out what's best to take now. off of this Stellar Wish. He could take another Electric Power for next turn just to make sure that, he has the means of going for a follow-up knockout on a Zapdos, as I'm sure he'll want to do. But maybe thinking it might be worth going for something else instead. I mean, his other options are Guzma and Shrine of Punishment. I mean, not even Shrine of Punishment, just Guzma, and he actually opts to take nothing.
Wow. It's interesting that he's chosen not to go for the Guzma there. I figured that he might want to try and eliminate those Zapdos from, if next time, assuming that Gustavo will go down the route of promoting Zapdos and trying to attack with it anyway, but, he wants to try to remove the threat of having consistent Zapdos there, so...
there goes the Electric Power down, and the Thunderous Assault with doing 110 damage, exactly enough to knock out Gustavo Zapdos, and the prize is once again tied at 5 apiece, and now back to Gustavo, who fires off straight back with an Electric Power of his own.
Yep, and there goes Marsha. There's Let Loose there, so he just needs some way of switching that Tapu Koko from the active spot if he's able to get that to the bench, and Zapdos goes active, he will have the knockout again. So as you can see, very back and forth between these players.
And that was a really good find as well, because of course that Marshadow was in Gustavo's prizes, so that means it was like one of the two at the bottom, and he managed to pick the Marshadow as the prize there.
Right, yeah, so, and it's a weird way of, most players generally, I don't know if when they play kind of on the tables, but in terms of playing on stream, usually take the prizes from the bottom, so generally the prizes that are more towards the top, they tend to get a bit later on. In that respect.
It's just an easy hand motion, isn't it? So the natural reflex is just, grab whatever's closest.
Yeah, I remember when I was playing, I tend to try and pick the one that kind of felt best. I would try to pick one from the top, pick one from the bottom. But I guess on stream, when you've got the prize cam, it's just more practical to take them.
Are you telling me that you're actually secretly a Psychic type Pokemon this whole time and we had no idea?
That is exactly why I'm here, yes.
Wow, mind blown. There you go, folks. New fact we learned about Jamie today.
Yeah, my secrets are coming out on stream here, ladies and gentlemen. But no, I don't know why I did that. I just kind of felt that, that was a thing. I just took a card, whichever one I felt. But for the practicality basis, players on stream do tend to take the bottom two prize cards, which is why that Buzzwole probably will stay in the prizes for a very long time to come just yet.
Yeah, for Ondrej's side. So Gustavo did just fire off the KO there, just able to, with the Zapdos bringing it into the active and going for, again, that Thunderous Assault with the played Electro Power, knockout onto Ondrej's active, and now Ondrej's thinking about what he wants to do to respond. He has a Rescue Stretcher in his hand and an Ultra Ball. Maybe he's debating what he actually wants to discard off that Ultra Ball, and yet that does indeed look like what he's going to play. So Ultra Ball discards, Shrine of Punishment, and...
I think that was the Nihilego that he's decided to put in the discard pile. He does have Rescue Stretcher in hand, so if he wants to just recycle that, he can. It's not the biggest deal. And at this point, Gustavo does have 4 prizes there, so it's pretty irrelevant at this moment in time. And he plays obviously the 2 Rescue Stretcher there, so he might, but he doesn't have anything really to work with. Has he? I believe. Oh, he has. Okay, so he's going for the Rescue Stretcher to put that Nihilego back into his deck. There goes Marshadow. There goes a Jirachi as well. He does have Escape Rope in hand, so he can go back into the other Jirachi and try and use Stellar Wish if he wants to. That's another option.
Yeah, but pretty much exactly like you said, he wanted to get that Nihilego out straight back as soon as he had to discard it, and additionally get back the Marshadow. Going to be really important for him. Obviously, sometimes the only thing you can do late game is do a Marshadow Let Loose and hope your opponent doesn't draw out of it, and so having that option available to him will be important.
Right, and I've just completely missed that. He does have Step Striker on the bench as well with Sprint, so he just decided to discard that Escape Rope that he had in hand and just go with Sprint to draw an additional 4 cards. So.
And it has paid off because he has drawn the Escape board, so he can now attach that to the active Jirachi and he will be able to retreat. And with the energy on... Oh, he's actually opting to attach it to the bench Jirachi, interestingly enough.
Yeah. So
he has a switch in hand, that's why.
Yeah, so he's going using Lily to draw up to 6 cards. Does this really help him in this situation? Is he?
Well, yeah,
he's looking for.
He needs Electro Power, and he's got it.
Right. Has he got the Electro Power in his hand?
Yeah, he just drew it off the.
Okay, great. Yeah. So yeah, he does have the knockout. I think that's the most important thing, is just keeping up with the prize exchange. As we've seen in the last game, how important that is. That he was reliant on taking a knockout with a GX Pokemon when he started to fall behind. So. But so he does have the Escape Board in hand. He will use that to retreat that Jirachi and go for the knockout here on that Zapdos. And I believe, can't really see Gustavo's side here. Let's just check on the other camera. Gustavo does not have another Jirachi in play at the moment.
Yeah, he does. He has one.
Sorry, Jirachi, Zapdos.
Oh, yeah, no, he doesn't have another Zapdos. No,
I meant to say Zapdos. Yeah, he does not have another Zapdos in play at the moment. So, So yeah, it'll be a case of trying to find another one, or don't think he's used all 3 Zapdos at this moment.
No, I believe he's only gone through 2.
Yeah, so he does have an access to another one. I don't remember it being prized either, so it'll be a case of trying to dig that out or try to use an alternative attacker here. But you can see Gustavo here trying to, I think he's really holding on to take the next prize. Once he takes the next prize, he'll probably look to say, okay, that Sledgehammer is not going to come out, that I can start to think about benching Pikachu Zekrom.
Yeah, it's like you said earlier, he doesn't know that
Exactly.
he doesn't have the same cast division that we have. We
Yes.
obviously see that the Buzzwole is in Ondrej's prizes, but Gustavo does not know that, and so very sensibly he's going to play assuming as if Ondrej has access to it, and that is absolutely the correct thing to do.
Yeah, so that's the issue that we have at this moment in time, is that, yeah, he doesn't have that access to that information, that there is that Buzzwole prize at this moment in time, but we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see what approach he decides to take here. I think there is the Ultra Ball in hand, so most likely going to use the Ultra Ball.
Yeah, so that's that was his choice of Stellar Wish. So
that's right, yeah. So most likely going to take the Ultra Ball, discard 2 things. He's discarding the Electro Power.
Oh, okay.
Wow. Okay, interesting there. I'm curious to see what he goes for here.
Well, he does have the Guzma in hand, so he might be just deciding to go those down and might just go for the Dance of the Ancients and Guzma out, say, a Jirachi for a knockout.
Yeah, I mean, we have seen Ondrej in this match. He has used 1 Rescue Stretcher already, so, I mean, but he can recycle, I guess, yeah, I mean, it's probably, yeah, it's a difficult situation in this moment because, I mean, there's 2 Zapdos already, so there is Guzma.
Exactly as predicted, so there it is. Guzma brings up the Jirachi on the bench with the escape board, and that is another knockout for Gustavo, and once again, just completely safeguarding himself against that Sledgehammer turn.
Right. So I mean, at this point, yeah, it's a bit difficult to try and keep up in the Zapdos race with Ondrej, because Ondrej plays 3 Zapdos plus the 2 Rescue Stretches. He will just recycle through all of these Zapdos and just keep streaming them. But from Gustavo's side, as you were saying, Nick, he's just trying to avoid making sure that Sledgehammer that's from that Buzzwole that is stuck in his prizes is not going to become an issue here. But
now here's a big difference as to how this game has panned out compared to game 1. Ondrej is not missing the KO here. He's got another Electro Power, and he'll be able to take another KO on the Zapdos. So now Gustavo is going to be he won't have another turn to attack with Zapdos to put on more pressure. Now he needs to switch gears and attack with something else, because I'm fairly sure that's his last Zapdos.
Right, and that Marshadow does have 1 energy attached to it, so he actually has a Jirachi on the bench there as well. So depending on which he chooses to be more valuable, this time he can have the Marshadow active, retreat that for free, or he can just put the Jirachi in the active spot and Stellar Wish with that, and he's just choosing to go with the Jirachi here. So
yeah, there's the Electric Power goes down, Thunderous Assault gets the knockout, and
did he just attach? I think he just attached that skateboard because he's just Cynthia'd.
Yeah.
So that would make sense. So he has free retreat on that Jirachi. Now he's out of Sledgehammer range, so he's able to start to think about using alternative attackers, alternative GX attackers here. So he's thinking, potentially thinking about using, for example, his Pikachu Zekrom GX. He's got Zero Aura in there should he want to go down that route, but I guess he thinks Pikachu Zekrom GX might be the optimal way to go here.
Yeah, interesting. I'm not sure if he actually found anything that useful off of that Stellar Wish. He's got a hand with a bunch of useful trainers in it, but no energy. I think he's missing enough energy to actually do anything worthwhile with his would-be GX attackers, so he hasn't got enough to attack with either Tapu Koko or with... Is he conceding?
Conceding, really?
Wow, okay.
Wow.
Yeah, I guess because he missed the attack, he just thinks to himself, yeah, no point carrying on, may as well just go to game 3.
That's a very interesting decision that Gustavo has decided to go with there.
I think it's just because he missed energy. I think he realized he couldn't get an attack off that turn, and from that point, Ondrej would just go ahead, and Gustavo wouldn't be able to recover.
Oh, fair enough. I mean, I was thinking at that moment, I mean, your Pikachu Zekrom GX can kind of absorb a bit of damage at that point. I wasn't sure if he'd go down that route. I mean, those Pikachu Zekroms have 240 HP. Is that a viable out? Can he, keep that active for a while and take a few hits and try and knock out a few things?
Possibly, but I'm fairly sure at that point Ondrej only had 3 prizes left, so even if Ondrej takes like a free hit knockout on that Pikachu Zekrom GX, that still wins him the game.
Yeah, that's true. But then I don't know if he has 2 Pikachu Zekrom GX and tries to retreat between those 2, try and keep them active. That just requires a Guzma here. Maybe he's just thinking that at some point Ondrej will get that Guzma into hand. At some point he will be able to use that and just take the knockout anyway. So playing a bit more conservatively in the case of having time on the clock, Gustavo has decided that it's not that big of a deal. He can try and recover. He's going first on game on game 3 here.
Yeah.
But it's tied at 1-1, so we'll see how this one plays out.
Yeah, there's plenty of time left. As you can see here, still over 30 minutes left on the clock, just under 35 in fact. So we should be more than enough time to see this game 3 through to completion. And yeah, this is it. It's coming down to the wire. Game 3, the deciding game between these two players to see who will advance to the finals. No matter who wins between these two, it will be someone who's never made an international final before will make their way there. And now it's just between the two of them in this game to determine who that will be.
Absolutely, and good luck to both players competing here, trying to get into that top 2, trying to get into that final, which will be tomorrow. So we'll see who is going to get into the top 2 here. We can see Gustavo has laid down his prizes. We'll see actually if on this occasion, I'm assuming the probability of that Buzzwole being prized again probably is probably very slim here. So let's see. So there's a Wobbuffet, there's a Volcanson. Again, not really too much in there that is going to affect the game, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, it's a Tapu Koko Prism Star. It's still obviously a nice set to have for Ondrej because it's something that extracts more energy, but it's not as vital as it is for him. I think something that is more important for Gustavo is that he's priced 2 energy switch. Right.
So actually, Ondrej has just priced 2 rainbow energy in there. So he's got 4 rainbow energy in total. He's priced 2 of those. He also has his Blitzel prize as well. Luckily, he plays a 2-2 line of Zeb Striker, so that hopefully won't be an issue for him.
And Ondrej going second actually started with 3 Pokemon, so he has the Jirachi, the Zapdos, and the Nihilego all there ready to go.
Yeah, so no Buzzwole prize at the moment, so that Buzzwole will actually be useful, I guess, in this game if he would like to try and search that out and go for that route. But yeah, Zapdos active, he uses Lily to get the maximum 8 cards for the opening turn.
It's funny though, isn't it? Because he didn't. The threat of Buzzwole was never really there for that entire game, but Ondrej was still able to win fairly convincingly, to be honest. I mean, Gustavo just conceding there, decided that there was really no way out for him, and unlike games 1 and 2, Gustavo goes straight for the Zeraora there, just wanting to get that Thunderclap Zone ability to retreat the Zapdos and get off a Stellar Wish.
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird situation with this matchup. Is like, do you want to go first or do you want to go second? It's because in this situation, I mean, obviously if you go first, it's better to set up, but if you go second, you can attack and you can get ahead on the prize exchange here. But Right, that is one factor of going first, is that you can actually let loose your opponent, which he has chosen to do here. So yeah, he's opting to try and put Ondrej's hand down to 4 cards here, and he'll have obviously the top cards. He'll have a draw for the turn, which will be 5 cards. He has a Stellar Wish as well, so you would think that he would have access to try and get out of this let loose here, but I mean, it's still quite disruptive to say.
It's funny though, there weren't any mulligans at the beginning of this game, were there?
I don't believe so, no.
Because if there weren't, then Ondrej has actually just ended up with the same amount of cards he already had because he benched 3 Pokemon, so he would have had 4 in hand already.
Yeah, it's a very valid point there, actually. But looking at his hand, he's got that Buzzwole in hand now, actually. So Buzzwole is comfortably sitting in his hand. There's a Rainbow Energy there as well, so we can attach the Rainbow, if you would like to that Zapdos. Keep in mind that he actually only has 2 remaining in his deck. That is one of them, so the other 2 are priced. If he uses that 1 Rainbow Energy to that Zapdos, it means he'll only have access to 1 more in his deck. But I think at this point it's pretty integral that he does kind of find some form of attachment. There is no draw supporter in his hand here.
Wow, so that let loose probably more being used for Gustavo to draw some more cards, but still paying off immensely as Ondrej is left with not much of anything to work with.
Wow, so there is Switch. I mean, this is pretty unfortunate for Ondrej here, but he wants to use Switch there to use Stellar Wish because he needs to find something to draw, and there's a Cynthia. So finally, there's a bit of relief there. He managed to get that Cynthia there, which is going to enable him to shuffle his hand back into his deck and draw 6 cards. But just before he does that, he's probably wanted to play out his hand a little bit here. He has a Nest Ball, which is going to search him for a basic Pokemon and put it on the bench. Let's see what he decides to go with here. He has the Buzzwole in hand, so he's not going to search for that.
It's interesting that he opted to not play that before doing the Stellar Wish. Maybe he wanted the Stellar Wish decision to inform what he got off of the Nest Ball, but at the same time, if he played the Nest Ball first, he could have thinned his deck from a Pokemon and made it more likely that he actually hit something off a Stellar Wish. So it's interesting how that sort of plays out and how you can. That's one of the mini sequencing decisions that you have to make when you're playing.
Yeah, I guess as you're saying, people have different opinions as to what the correct sequencing is. I mean, for me, I always try to deck thin first and then try to draw cards. But yeah, Ondrej here has done the exact opposite of that. But evidently paying off because he's just got that Cynthia. So he's got that Cynthia, so he's going back into his deck. And he's going to shuffle his hand into his deck and draw 6 cards here. Let's see what he gets. What does he need at this point? He needs a escape board here to retreat that Jirachi, or some kind of means to switch that Jirachi, and then he's looking to try and get some Electro Powers to go for the knockout, I imagine. So there's Shrine of Punishments that will put 1 damage counter every turn on that Zero Aura GX because it is a GX Pokemon.
Yep.
So that will start to rack up a little bit of damage. That's something that Gustavo has to be a little bit cautious of. But yeah, I didn't really see Ondrej's hand is kind of concealing his hand at this moment. I figured that he has a Marshadow in hand if he wants to let loose, actually.
Sure does. So
maybe he might be thinking to go for try to play down his hand a little bit and then try to let loose and try and give himself more. Actually, no, he's just passing turn and just opting to try and wake his Jirachi up and pass turn there. So
yeah, I mean, it was an interesting one because, of course, if he goes to the let loose and finds an escape board, he could be a hero and take the. Actually, I say he could take the knockout, but actually no, he couldn't because I don't think he had enough Electro Powers in his hand to take the knockout with Zapdos. So actually, in hindsight, probably just it does make the most sense just to keep the Jirachi active.
Right, it's just a case of Gustavo hasn't taken any prizes yet, so I guess he can kind of relax a little bit on that front. I mean, Gustavo only had 1 turn so far, so Ondrej here is subject to whether Gustavo can take the knockout on this turn. He will have to try and find means of keeping up with this prize exchange. We've seen how important it is in this matchup, trying to just making sure that you're taking a knockout every turn. So
yeah, just was a big find here for Gustavo. He finds the Viridian Forest, able to counter that Shrine of Punishment. So the Shrine of Punishment only getting 1 damage counter of value on that Zero Aura, very, very important.
Yeah, so there is a discard for Viridian Forest. He's choosing to put a Lightning Energy into his discard pile, choosing to search for another Lightning Energy there. That is just to get some more energy into the discard pile. Should he choose to use Dance of the Ancients there, that will also free up a bench space. I guess Gustavo has to be a little bit worried that he does have that Zero Aura GX on the bench. I mean, obviously he's feeling the benefits of having it on the bench as he just retreated his Tapu Koko for free. But I mean, that Sledgehammer comes out, I mean, that could be an issue.
Yeah, it could. And also, it's interesting that actually, in that particular instance, he would have rather not had the Zero Aura, I think, because now that Lightning Energy still stays on a Tapu Koko, and it means that you can't attach it, because if he could discard it to retreat, he could have attached it instead with the Dance of the Ancients.
Right, I was thinking that actually myself. So yeah, I mean, he's feeling the effect of retreating for free, but in this case, yeah, you perhaps want to pay the energy retreat cost at this point.
Yeah, but you don't have the choice, unfortunately.
Yeah, but I'm just wondering actually in his discard pile how many energy he has in there. I know obviously we see the one on the top there. I don't know if he has any more in the discard pile, so we'll have to wait and see. Perhaps that's why he hasn't used Dance of the Ancients just yet, because he's not getting the maximum benefit of using it here.
Yeah, he wants to sort of wait until he actually can get maximum value out of it before using it. But there goes a Guzma from Ondrej, able to bring up that Jirachi. No need for Electro Powers to KO the Jirachi with this Zapdos. So of course, 80 damage will be enough regardless. And there he's going for the Let Loose now. Right,
so Let Loose will, in this case, try to enable him to draw more cards as well as try to hopefully disrupt Gustavo here. Gustavo, looking on his bench, has, once he takes a knockout on this Jirachi, and I mean, yeah, the Jirachi is a bit of an easy KO in this point because it only has 70 HP. But another factor just to keep in mind with this knocking out this Jirachi is that if Gustavo doesn't draw into anything here and he knocks out that Jirachi, that he will not be able to use Stellar Wish to find more resources here. So that's one factor that Ondrej could be thinking at this point, is to try and knock out anything that is giving him more access to drawing things within his deck.
So down goes the, looks like you've had a Zapdos from the Marshadow with the Let Loose. Not found much else though, just an Electro Power, what looks to be an Ultra Ball. Might just decide to hold on to everything he has for now. It's a bit tricky. Oh, actually, is he going to Ultra Ball away this Electro Power?
Wow, it's pretty tough, but he has...
Oh no, it's an escape board.
Right,
okay, that's less bad then.
Yeah, so I believe that Jirachi on the bench, does it have a card behind it? I can't see... I don't believe it does.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, so I mean that might be a factor as to why he's holding on to that skateboard, because once the return knockout comes back, he will be looking to attach a skateboard and then retreat that Jirachi for free. There is okay, so he's using Viridian Forest. I was going to suggest that he's holding back that escape board. The sensible thing would be to attach it to that Jirachi and leave it there for next turn, just in case there is something like another Marshadow or a Judge or something like that.
Yeah, I think.
But he's just kind of, I guess, holding it back just in case that Jirachi gets knocked out, then he's just preserved there in a skateboard.
Yeah, I think as well at this point you're pretty much aware of what the other person's deck list is. We're all the way up to top 4 now, and I think that Ondrej is thinking if there would have been a second Marshadow in Gustavo's deck, he would have seen it by now. So I think he's still playing on the assumption that there is only one Marshadow, and given that it's on the field, that is the only one he needs to worry about. But instead, just going to go for the Thunderous Assault. But oh no, Electro Power means that it's not a knockout.
Wow, that's pretty big actually in this matchup. Just because, as you see, you really need to be exchanging knockouts here, and Ondrej is not benching anything that is GX related. In that, I mean, he only has one GX Pokemon in his deck, which is that one Tapu Koko GX. So it's really a very traditional game of Pokemon here, in the sense that he is actually having to take 6 prizes
with 6 knockouts.
Exactly, yeah. So we've seen so many times where players will opt to just knock out GX Pokemon, take prizes of 2, 2, and 2, or perhaps maybe knock out 2 tag team Pokemon, like a 3 and a 2, and perhaps a 1, or perhaps 3 and 3. But this is, wow, this reminds me of playing back in the day when you would have to knock out 6 Pokemon to take prizes. So this isn't something that we see very often, but Ondrej is certainly making it very difficult here for Gustavo.
Yeah. So Viridian Forest gets used, rather. Ondrej uses Gustavo's Viridian Forest, discards that Ultra Ball, just gets himself another Lightning Energy, which he'll be able to attach to the Zapdos, of course, but not before he goes for a Stellar Wish, just to see what he can dig for. Looks like, oh, he's found a skateboard. That's really, really good.
Yeah, so he's found a skateboard. So he had the skateboard in hand from last turn, so I'm not really sure if that's going to be much of value here if he wants to. Does he? What is that? Is that a Blitzel that he has on his bench? I can't see. His hand is.
No, he has 2 Zapdos, Marshadow, an Ileego, and a Buzzwole right now.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So
he does
on the other camera. Yeah. So there is another Zapdos there. So I wasn't sure if that was. Yeah. Okay.
Blitzel.
So yeah, he has another. Yeah. So he has a Zapdos there. So, yeah. So
he goes for skateboard number 2.
He's opting to get the skateboard here. Another option. Well, I guess it's not really worth getting the Choice Band at this moment, because the only thing you can target with the Choice Band is that Zero Aura GX, and I mean, that's not in the active spot. He's not wanting to get that up. He needs to. I mean, it's a lot to ask if you try to Guzma that up and try and use Electro Power and Choice Band to try and get the knockout.
Yeah.
I mean, that does have 190 HP as well.
I think what Ondrej was really digging for here was another Electro Power, but instead he's now in the same situation that Gustavo was in, where he's actually just doing Thunderous Assault, but it's not for a knockout.
Yeah, wow. So, yeah, it's a tricky situation here. I mean, it does really come down to a game of trying to find Electro Powers here. That is really what we're looking for. He's going to attach on Marshadow. Gustavo is, there goes Guzma for, he's going to retreat in and out to get the full effects of that Zapdos there.
Yeah, so
going to get a knockout on that active Jirachi, and that Jirachi does have the skateboard on it, so it's a little bit of a hindrance there for Ondrej.
Yeah, that's pretty big. That means that now the KO tempo is back in Gustavo's favor, able to find that Guzma to take a knockout on the Jirachi. Not only actually getting the KO tempo in his favor, but now, of course, one of Ondrej's main digging options is actually just gone. There's no extra draw or search power or anything like that on Ondrej's side of the field. Yeah,
and as you can see, unlike the second game, Ondrej does actually have that Buzzwole lying on the bench. So Gustavo is playing very, trying to work around this Buzzwole here. So he doesn't want to put down his Pikachu Zekrom GXs just yet, because if he does, that Buzzwole will come up and use Sledgehammer, and get the knockout. So that is something that is certainly on his mind at the moment.
Yeah, and that's something he has to be quite careful of as he sort of go through this turn. The Rainbow Energy is there ready for him to attach if he wants to. Does go for the Nest Ball first. We do see there, just a reminder that Gustavo is on 4 prizes left. So if Ondrej had found a Guzma this turn, he could have just attached the Rainbow to the Buzzwole, brought up the Zero Aura, and taken a 2-prize knockout.
Yeah, you can see how tense this match is. All these kind of really small details are really starting to add up here. I mean, it's kind of at the point where you really cannot put a foot wrong here. I mean, if you make one decision that could backfire, that could be your loss of this round, and that would be the difference between finishing in top 4 and finishing in the top 2, even potentially winning the tournament here. So really a lot of calculated decisions going on here, working out the sequencing of the types of cards we are using, or that the players are using here. So as you can see, going for that Jirachi here, Marshadow is currently stuck in the active spot. He's not pressured here to get an Electro Power, because of the fact that Zapdos has already got damage on it, so there is no pressure on that respect on that side of things. So he's going retreat to the Jirachi. He's using the Stellar Wish ability. Let's see. He has Escape Rope in hand, but does he really want to use Escape Rope? He wants to knock out the Zapdos, I imagine, here. So,
well, I mean, in ideal world, you knock out the Zeraora GX, but of course he didn't find a Guzma. I imagine that's what he was digging for there. He finds Guzma off that Stellar Wish. I mean, this turn is sort of written out for him. But what I'm more interested in is it seems like Ondrej was really agonizing over something earlier, specifically that first Nest Ball. And well, he's going for the Escape Rope now, and yeah, he has to bring out the Marshadow if you're Gustavo here. You don't want to lose the Zeraora, and you don't want to lose Tapu Koko, and you definitely don't want to lose the Zeraora. You've got to assume that Ondrej has access to a Rainbow Energy or a Beast Energy at this point. But
yeah, so I think it puts Buzzwole active, interestingly. So there goes Buzzwole, and there goes the 1 damage counter for that Rainbow Energy, and he does go for the knockout here. So because Gustavo does have 4 prizes remaining, so he's able to maximize that Sledgehammer here. So what Gustavo is really needing here is to get a knockout of some sort, and that would put him out of Sledgehammer range, which means he can start using things like Pikachu Zekrom GX.
And you know what, actually, this was really clever by Ondrej, because he actually attacked with the Buzzwole anyway. He didn't need to. He could have gotten the KO on the Marshadow with just a Zapdos, but by doing this, he forces Gustavo to have more Electro Powers to get the knockout. If Gustavo would need 2 Electro Powers at this point to KO this Buzzwole in 1 hit, and more importantly, if Gustavo doesn't take a knockout, then the Sledgehammer turn is still going to go on, because Gustavo will still be on 4 prizes, and then at that point, Gustavo can just, Ondrej can just take a KO onto the Zeraora, but it looks like Ondrej used the Volkner to find Ultra Ball for Tapu Koko, and so it doesn't matter because the Tapu Koko is going to KO the Buzzwole.
So after all that, I mean, yeah, but these are small margins that really add up, as we were just saying before. If he didn't, he wants to try and utilize that Sledgehammer as much as possible, even if he does use Rescue Stretcher. We know he plays 2 Rescue Stretcher in the deck. If he tries to get that Buzzwole back, that Sledgehammer will not be active. He will obviously be able to use that Sledgehammer, but he won't have the added effect of trying to hit those really big numbers now. So Gustavo's got to that kind of magic 3 number in this match that we've sort of seen, in the sense that he is now able to start, benching Pokemon a bit less cautiously. He's able to use some big of his big GX Pokemon here, including some of his tag team GX Pokemon that he has within his deck, like the Pikachu Zekrom here. Oh. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of approach Ondrej goes with here. He's just used Stellar Wish here. What does he have in his hand?
Yeah, he used Stellar Wish. He's just found a Guzma off of that Stellar Wish. It's choice between a Guzma and 2 Lilies, but it looks like he'd rather not take the Guzma right now and just go for the Lily instead. I don't see a way for him to KO this Tapu Koko GX this turn unless he plays a absurd amount of Electro Powers.
Right.
But he does just go for the Viridian Forest, discards an Ultra Ball.
Yeah, so at this point, I mean, it's kind of a case of, he would need a lot of Electro Powers here to try and get that knockout. I mean, how many would... Into Choice Band would be also another option there. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different ways you can look to add up to 170 damage to get that knockout. Yeah. But, I mean, it just looks like too much at this moment.
Yeah, he would need any in combination of 3, because of course the base of 80 and extra 90 would be 170. So he'd need either 2 Electro Powers or a Choice Band, or you could just bring in your own Tapu Koko GX. That will do the trick as well.
And that's a viable option there, which he is choosing to do. He's gone for Tapu Koko GX, but it sounds like something is going on here. Sounds like there's some discussion going on between the judges and players here. Let's just see what is going on.
He might be debating whether he can move the Rainbow Energies across. Okay, so I'm fairly sure that he's no, there's a strain. So I just had to see what's going on here. Just wait for this. That's.
Well, we'll see what happens here. So, but this is, I guess, a very, we've seen a very interesting matchup here.
Okay, so it looks like both players have their headsets off currently, so we want to be careful not to sort of, talk about, not to give anything.
More information, yeah. So we will keep it non-related to, obviously, the card game at the moment. But while we're waiting for this conclusion to finish up, what has been your favorite deck over the course of this weekend? Has there been something that you particularly have enjoyed watching over the course of this weekend?
I mean, I was so heartbroken for Simon Humphrey when when that last feature match. We were we were so hopeful that maybe one rogue deck can make it through. And in theory, it seemed like he had the means to, set up that Onyx just take the big KOs on the Pikachu and Zekrom. But unfortunately, game 1 not working out for him, and game 2 playing the counter catcher and playing the Cynthia, just taking that prize penalty. Unfortunately, yeah. And it looks like the issue has been fixed. So what happened was the players didn't have the pink noise briefly in their headsets, so they could actually hear us. But that's been fixed now, so everything is okay again.
Yeah, just to mention another topic, that was a really satisfying moment with that Onyx got that knockout on that big Pikachu Zekrom. Yeah. That was something I really enjoyed about that match. But back to this game here, there is an Electro Power.
That's very important. Yeah. Without that, he wouldn't have been able to take the KO. So with that, the Tapu Thunder GX can come in 180 damage.
There is 2 prizes, so he's ahead on the prize exchange here. It's just a case of whether Gustavo can respond here and try and get a knockout here on that opposing Tapu Koko. If he does, wow, this is coming right down to the wire here.
And here comes finally after 2 games, the big, or 3 games even, well 2 previous games in this third one, the big.
Look how quickly he's powering up this Pikachu Zekrom. Just in 1 turn, he's managed to do that. There's Ace Roller. He's going to the active spot. Does he have where he can use
either Choice Band or Electro Power or get the KO? He's only 20 damage short of a knockout in his Tapu Koko. Does he have either one?
He can go with the GX attack as well if he really wants to and try and go down that. He can use Tag Bolt GX here if he wants to go for that 200 damage to ensure that he's got the knockout. That would mean the following turn he just has to use Full Blitz to knock out something on the bench. I mean, he's got access to knocking out everything here. So. But he has, and indeed, just with the muscle band, with the choice band alone, he has got, I've said that too many times on the weekend, he has got a knockout on that Tapu Koko GX there.
And he's free energy going onto a Zapdos. Wow. Oh no, just 1.
Right. And with that in mind, he has taken 2 prizes there, putting him down to 1 prize left, which means that Nihilego does not become active at this moment. He cannot use the attack of that because Gustavo has played that very, very nicely.
And the problem for Ondrej there is that what has just been KO'd is what usually would be his answer to a big, Pikachu Zekrom GX. So, I mean, with the 4 energy on the board, Tapu Thunder, all it would have needed was, either a Choice Band and an Electro Power or 2 Electro Powers, and it would have been enough to KO. But that has just been what's KO'd, and there's not enough energy on the field to actually do that play.
That's the issue that we have here now is that, even if he rescue stretched that, he's used his GX attack for the game. He does not have enough energy on the board. Does he have anything up his sleeve to kind of get himself out of the situation? Gustavo just needs that 1 more prize, and I believe he will wrap up this game. But, Ondrej is not conceding yet. Maybe he has something.
Well, there's no reason to concede, right? If you concede, you go from a 0.0001% chance to win to a 0% chance to win. So, you may as well play this out and see if you can think of some kind of answer. But I think especially because Gustavo was able to skip over the nightcap turn for Ondrej and really put a damper in that plan of action for him. I think that might be just what seals it here. That KO on the Tapu Koko GX basically take away any responsive option that he could have had to a big Pikachu Zekrom, being either the Tapu Koko GX itself or the Nihilego.
Yeah, so I mean, exactly as you're saying there, that I guess there's no reason to concede here, but I mean, I just, he's obviously he's searched through his deck quite a few times here. Well, there's Tapu Koko that can get him some energy onto his side of the board, so I believe he obviously has the lightning energy in the discard pile, but well, I mean, even if he does, can he rescue stretch or something? I mean, can he? I don't know.
I don't see it because again he can bring back the Tapu Koko like you said. If he has a rescue stretcher, he can get it back. Do Arrow Trail, bring it up to the active with all the energy he attaches from this Tapu Koko. But then he's just gonna Sky High Claws for 130 and then lose.
Right. I mean he's played through far too many Electro Powers to even think about getting up to that 240 damage point, including that. Also, there is a. I'm sure. Even with the choice banner, doesn't make it relevant, but he's still digging through his deck here as if there is something that he's thinking about here. He's getting another lightning energy, so I mean, it's just a case of he's consistently searching through his deck. Maybe he has something up his sleeve here. I'm really curious. I mean, I don't see an out here, but
he's just exhausting all his possible options. I mean, we can't see anything currently right now, but obviously, we're not piloting the deck. He wants to make sure he's exhausted every possible avenue. Maybe he can Guzma the Zapdos and hope that Gustavo doesn't have an energy to retreat. That's about the only option I can really see here.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking that too, but
Gustavo's hand is massive, so the chances are he has one.
Yeah, and I mean, his deck is there is the energy in hand if he decides to do that. So that was a smart play on Gustavo's side to try and when he did use that full blitz attack to put 1 energy onto the Zapdos there. Yeah, he just can.
Yeah, that's it.
So
And Gustavo Wada will be your first finalist here at the European International Championships.
yeah, so congratulations to Gustavo. So he's featured, this is his third time now on the stream, and he has taken all 3 games that he's played here on the feature match here. So congratulations to Gustavo for winning that match. It's a huge accomplishment to come all the way from Brazil and come all the way to the finals here at this big European international event.
Yeah, and you see the crowd really like that. The one thing I really love about the Brazilian Pokemon community is that they really know how to cheer on their own. We've seen that before at Latin American internationals. There's no crowd quite